8:14 a.m. 8:14 a.m. in the morning, Friday, May 26th, year 2023. As you can see, I haven't had my makeup artist yet. So, we just do the do-rag. Not too bad. Sporting the do-rag as someone who's hitting 50 this year. I think I can pull it off, and I'm actually wearing the do-rag. I don't even own a motorcycle. Actually, to hold the hair back, and that's, you know what? All things being equal, that's pretty cool. So, what's the point of this show here? What's the point of what we're going to be covering here? Welcome to Houstonic Live. Mark Kulak, KULACZ. It's Polish from my awesome stepdad. I'm not. These are the people who support the program on Patreon. Thank you so much. These are the people who have made contributions and gifts in 2022. We do have a PayPal and a Venmo. Your support is appreciated. I will not have the, I'm not going to be doing comments today. I may do another show later this afternoon. I have all these amazing gifts that we received in terms of amazing books. And I'm still just brainstorming on how to put these assets together. I have a lot of ideas on, but I need to start being regimented about it. So, what is the point of today's show? So this 220 series is about the reviewing the corporate history of Inovio. The pioneering DNA medicines is their tagline. It is one of the most convoluted corporate histories out there. I've spent hundreds of hours going over this, probably over the last 2 years at least. And every time I thought I had it right, I wound up missing some important details. And I think some of the corporate history of Inovio, which involves a multitude of companies, is meant to obfuscate what might be going on. Now, some of it might be related to wanting to squeeze money out of the system. And of course, that's always a consideration. I don't believe that at this level, making a few extra bucks is really what's driving the big decisions. I will not allow myself to entertain the idea that world events that impact every single person on the planet are, and I know there's such a thing as the butterfly effect, but right now are being driven by a few people who want to, buy up or short a stock to make a few million here or maybe a billion there. I just can't go there. It's too absurd. So Inovio, to review, was the first company that announced that they had a product designed to provide immunization against the COVID-19 disease, the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Their CEO and co-founder, J. Joseph Kim, was in the White House, as we've shown on videos, presenting to the full executive branch, including President Trump, in late February, early March of 2020. Their probably the chief operating officer, Kate Broderick of Scotland, was on, I won't say on Scott Pelley, but I'll say on CBS, 60 Minutes with Scott Pelley, highlighting the product. One of the first companies to highlight a product, and they had all the little things spinning in the background filled with the black water, talking about how they were using bacteria for to clone it. I don't think she used the word clone it, but to grow it, culture it, if you will. And Inovio has had other products in the past. They were one of the first companies to announce a vaccine for Zika virus that was designed and actually started human trials to not challenge experiments, but just trialing it, seeing if people could receive it and what type of reaction they would get. And as we really went into detail over the last, with a couple of video shorts, one of the first human gene therapy experiments that was done on a group of, I think, a few dozen people, and included the first fatality in a human gene therapy experiment, was done In the late 1990s, University of Pennsylvania involved the death of a 19-year-old Jesse Gelsinger. The research was overseen by James Wilson, but an peer of James Wilson at the University of Pennsylvania named Dr. David B. Weiner, Weiner. I don't know if he's any relation to other Weiners in the media or in government. Another one of the forerunners, if you will, of human gene therapy. Some say he claims to be, or he has been stated to be the father of DNA vaccines. And again, there's so many people who've made so many contributions to this field. I don't know. I think just being in any sentence, having made any contribution, is actually pretty cool. Okay, and I'm not saying that all of the science or all of the products are great, and I'm eagerly running out to get it. No, I think it's extremely cool research trying to unravel this amazing machine that God created. And I don't think there's anything morally wrong with the research. I think it's fascinating. I do have problems with undisclosed risks, of course, and engineered pandemics, as I hopefully most other people do. But this Dave Weiner is the other co-founder of the root of Inovio Corporation, and I'll show up the chart in a little bit. And I've made a couple of updates to it. And they seem really subtle. You may not even see it at first, but they are kind of important. Now, I titled this show Executive SEC Investigations into Inovio Corporation. There are several previous chairmen or executives at Inovio that are right now embroiled in very serious SEC investigations involving securities fraud and what have you. I was careful not to say Inovio is involved because that's a bit slanderous. But some people who were at Inovio and no longer are, but are involved. And these are being described as, and I'll show you the articles, defrauding investors, creating shadow companies to move around accounts, making a few million here, a few million there. It involves medical marijuana, which is a very interesting topic that we're probably going to be dragged more and more into. I don't think that there should be laws against people having access to marijuana. That's absolutely absurd. But I do suspect that the federal regulations against marijuana have been used to create a sort of an intrigue, if you will, and maybe bait some people into over investing or being seduced into some of the newer marijuana related, cannabisoid, whatever you want to call it, related companies. And which on the back end actually have tight connections to the Human Genome Project. So while you're thinking, you're just finally cuddling up with nature, in reality, you're being suckered in. If the plant has everything you need, then you know what? You could grow it at home, or in your basement or whatever. You don't need to have connections to Craig Venter to enjoy your medical marijuana. But again, that's another story. These individuals, it's a very high profile, relatively high profile stuff. To understand their connections into Inovio, you have to really look at the corporate tree and the multitude of little smaller companies that Inovio had purchased or split off into, right? And while there's a story there about perhaps some of these people being involved, including, I think one of the main names is Avtar Dhillon, Dhillon. These are South Asian names or Sikh. I think his middle initial is Singh, so I apologize if I'm mispronouncing it. I think there's more to it than just money. I just want to put that possibility out there. There is the possibility that some of these, what's being described and presented as securities frauds, is in reality espionage related to technologies and products. And now you have international companies here, and what possibilities have been created because of this strange network that Inovio had, and is some of it being scooped up and I would say hidden under the rug through these investigations. So, with that said, I don't have a chat window open, and just letting you know. So I'm not going to be responding to the chat. So on our website here, I've spent a lot of time in the last couple of days doing this stuff here. I have made pages for all of these little smaller companies. I'll get myself out of the way here. Related to Inovio, okay? I've actually written out the different transactions, who merged and when they bought and when they were sold. And I have a page for each of these related companies. And then I have updated this this diagram here. And let's see here. Can I just open image in new tab? Yeah, there we go. Which you can download. All right. And down at the bottom here, I sort of have it ordered by time, top to bottom, or oldest at the top, or newest at the bottom, and the main companies to look at, including Inovio Corporation, based in the United States, Gene One Life Sciences, which is a South Korean company, and VGXI. VGXI International is a U.S.-based subsidiary of Gene One Life Sciences, which is based in South Korea. Now, I present Inovio and Gene One Life Sciences because it is often said, it's been said both in the development of Inovio's vaccine product for coronavirus, as well as Inovio's vaccine product for Zika virus, that they were partnering with Gene One Life Sciences. And that sounds fantastic. But if you go back in the corporate history, you realize that they are very much connected, or were very much connected. And even if that bridge, that ownership of Stairs no longer exists, it once did, which allows potentially some very intriguing options for exfiltrating technologies and other trade secrets between the different companies. So when Inovio is partnering with Gene One Life Sciences, are they really just partnering with another wing of a central company? I don't know. Meanwhile, this little wing over here, VGXI International, is now operating in Woodland, Texas. Actually, it was operating in the same business park as Advisys, which made gene therapy products for animals. They were also based in Woodlands, Texas, and you wouldn't think that they're related, but they are. So just to walk through this quickly here, Inovio Corporation started off. It was founded in 7 months after the death of that Jesse Gelsinger. I am speculating about the possibility that the failure of those gene therapy trials caused a knee-jerk reaction and a desire to separate from that and maybe pursue other slightly different variants of that to keep the ball rolling, if you will. And the company that was created, Viral Genomics, April of 2000, still focused on DNA, was DNA transfection or DNA gene therapy products. And with J. Joseph Kim, whose father was a North Korean refugee. And J. Joseph Kim himself, of course, is was for several years identified as a World Economic Forum Young Global Leader, and pretty visible in that light. Klaus Schwab saw him as probably one of the greatest hopes for opening up and the business futures of South Korea, in spite of him being relatively young. This company, Viral Genomics, in 2005, made about a 30 to 33% share purchase of a fabrics company, Dongil Fabrics, which is from South Korea, which was created in 1976 in South Korea. And exactly when they sold that isn't clear. I still haven't figured that out. But then Viral Genomics was renamed to be VGX Pharmaceuticals, and then Dong Il Fabrics was renamed VGXI International. So if they didn't want to create, if their intention wasn't to take this South Korean company and make it part of their company, they certainly did everything possible to confuse the snot out of everyone by calling the American wing VGX Pharmaceuticals, and then this completely separate, unrelated company that they owned a great number of shares at, possibly at least a third, maybe a lot more that we don't know about, VGXI International. And then I think relatives of J. Joseph Kim became executives at VGXI International. I mean, this is which is just incredibly super confusing as all. Now, the relation between VGX and VGXI after that is really not clear. I would probably need to master going through paperwork from South Korea to figure that stuff out. Nonetheless, continuing on, VGX Pharmaceuticals then purchased in 2007 this Woodlands, Texas company called Advasys. Advasys, which is Animal Veterinary Systems Incorporated. They were doing transfections, or they were using electroporation products to test immunizations on animals, their real focus was using those products to try to get the animals to express their own growth hormones and other messengers for improved, food output. Bigger pigs, fatter pigs, leaner pigs, bigger chickens, etc. We don't know if the success of their products has resulted in, or their research has resulted in products that we've been using, i.e., consuming. We don't know that. But VGX Pharmaceuticals purchased that company on February of 2007, and they came out of Baylor Medical. Also noteworthy that Peter Hotez is often pushing vaccine products out of Baylor Medical. Now, continuing on, VGX Pharmaceuticals in 2009 acquired a company. This is where it gets super confusing, okay? Even more confusing. And you're welcome for doing all this work. VGX Pharmaceuticals, okay, buys a company called Inovio Biomedical. Well, I thought that this was by Inovio. Well, the name Inovio actually comes from another company that Viral Genomics, VGX, whatever, purchased. Now, I don't know why they wanted to reuse that name. Maybe they just think it sounds cool. Either way, they purchased a company called Inovio Biomedical. And then, even more confusing, VGX Pharmaceuticals, for a whole year just about, maintained being called Inovio Biomedical before renaming themselves to Inovio Pharmaceuticals in May of 2010. And who did they purchase? Well, they purchased a company called Genetronics. And Genetronics is one of the main companies making these electroporation devices. Now, Genetronics history goes all the way back to a Canadian company. This is a typo here. I meant 1984. 1984 is when BTX was created. But this goes back a long ways. And they probably didn't even envision themselves doing the stuff that they ultimately wound up doing. But a company called BTX became Genetronics. They were traded up in Canada. Eventually, they got into the business of making this electroporation devices. And then in 2005, they purchased a startup company called Inovio AS, which was from Norway, to advance their electroporation technology. And this company, Advasys, this Animal Veterinary Sciences Group, which was purchased by VGX, was actually using their equipment, just Genetronics equipment. So the name Inovio sort of came in from, so there's an Inovio AS from Norway, which was purchased by Genetronics. Genetronics renamed themselves to be Inovio Biomedical, completely unrelated to the J. Joseph Kim, David Weiner company, until in 2009, VGX Pharmaceuticals, which is the real root of Inovio, what is modern day Inovio, purchased them and then became Inovio Corporation. Meanwhile, over here, this Dong Il Fabrics VGXI International, which was had a huge ownership by VGX Pharmaceuticals, became Gene One Life Sciences, which now owns this American subsidiary VGXI. Now, these seem like probably a whole bunch of quirky names, and it's punishing as all hell, trying to keep all this stuff in straight in your head. So, in 2015, a synthetic consensus of anti-spike protein DNA vaccine induces immunity against Middle East respiratory syndrome coronavirus in non-human primates. Tell me that does not sound like an anti-spike protein against coronavirus. MERS, Middle East respiratory syndrome, it is a coronavirus. It even says coronavirus. So this theory, this approach of creating an anti-spike protein, okay, is a synthetic consensus, has been pretty well documented. And looking at these names, who do we have in here? We have David B. Weiner, co-founder of Inovio. We have Heinz Feldman, frequent co-author of Sina Bavari, David Hone, and Robert Malone. We have Gary Kobinger of the lab up in Canada, the National Microbiology Laboratory, who worked with Francis Plummer and the Chinese spy or medicine lady Guan Gaoqiao. We have J. Joseph Kim, the other co-founder, CEO of Inovio Corporation. We have Frederick Feldman, the wife of David B. Heinz Feldman, excuse me. For some reason, international spies like to work with their wives. And I haven't even gone through all the other names. But I bring this up because if we can view if we can just view the full article here, let's see. I know we can. I want to open up this full article for a reason here. 1 second. Let's see here. It's Sci-Hub. .ru. Here we go. Copy in that number. Control C. Go to Sci-Hub. Paste it in there. Excellent. Here's the full article, which we could download. Actually, I have it downloaded somewhere else, but I just wanted to go to the last page in this article here, where they talk about conflicts. And here we go. Competing interests. DBW, which is David B. Weiner, Inovio co-founder, has grant funding, participates in industry collaborations, and has received speaking honoraria and fees for consulting. This service includes the scientific review committees. Come on, I want these updates to go away. Yes, I know I can do an update. So one thing is that it's a lot easier. You don't get that when you download this stuff. But remuneration includes direct payments and or stock options in the interests and in the interest of disclosure thereof. He notes potential conflicts of interest with his work in Inovio, where he serves with SAB. I don't know who SAB is, but Merck Corporation, VGXI, Inovio is still working with this VGXI International. Oncosec, which is a whole other can of worms. Roche. Aldebaran. Aldebaran is a big manufacturer for Moderna's products. They have factories up in, I think it was in the Dakotas, and they opened up a new one in Wisconsin. Aldebaran is involved in legal problems right now, proceedings against VGXI. There's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes with all these little manufacturers. Okay, so I just wanted to highlight that while these may sound a little bit fringe, bringing up all of these names here, they are still very much in play with respect to the details and a lot of the legal work that or legal proceedings that are ongoing. Now, for Inovio, I found this article on Seeking Alpha. Okay, Inovio Pharmaceuticals and Oncosec Medical, putting the pieces together, and it highlights this relationship between several companies or divisions. Inovio, VGX Pharma, which, as you know, became Inovio, VGXI, which is VGX International, which Inovio sort of owned or had a major ownership of, as we showed, and VGXI is now owned by a South Korean company. And then there's another company called Oncosec here. And Seeking Alpha, they provide investing advice, and of course they do admit that they have potential conflict of interest because they've been investing in Inovio, and that's totally cool. So they're above board about all of this stuff here. Now, this article here, which you can just go to my Inovio page to get a link to it, on Seeking Alpha. It's from December 15th of 2015. They talk about the history of the executives of some of these companies, including J. Joseph Kim, and then more to the point for this particular show here, a Dr. Avtar Singh Dhillon, born 1961, who is described as the previous CEO and president of Inovio, which is kind of true. He was never a co-founder, of course. But this guy was actually the CEO of this Genentronix company, okay, which is this, you see right here. Genentronix goes all the way back to the 1990s, and they wound up starting to make these electroporation devices in the late 1990s. They purchased a company called Inovio AS in 2005, et cetera, and then eventually were purchased by VGX Pharmaceutical, which became Inovio. And I bring that up because right around here on September 7th, 2001, Avtar Dhillon becomes is onboarded from an investment firm to become lead chairman, and then a month later CEO of Genentronix. So right around late September, early October 2001, this Avtar Singh becomes the CEO of Genentronix, and then through this series of acquisitions becomes for a short period of time, a CEO at Inovio Corporation before being kind of kicked out. Now, going back to the Seeking Alpha article here, it does talk about all of this stuff in pretty good detail. VGX, and I'm going to enter this VGX thing here. VGX Pharmaceutical is a privately owned pharmaceutical company, and Inovio Biomedical. Remember, Inovio Biomedical it was Genentronix, really, with that Norwegian company, Inovio AS, that they purchased. Let me start again. VGX Pharmaceutical, a privately owned pharmaceutical company, and Inovio Biomedical enter a merger agreement in July of 2008. It was a merger of equals with similar therapeutic platforms. 2 years previous to that, VGX had entered a licensing agreement with Inovio to acquire DNA delivery technology. Importantly, at the time of the merger, VGX Pharmaceutical had a controlling interest in VGX International. Controlling interest, a public company listed on the South Korean Stock Exchange, which was renamed to Gene One Life Sciences in 2013. After the merger, the combined company owned 30% of VGX International. VGX Pharmaceutical also had merged with a private Texas-based company called Advasys, and that's the Animal Veterinary Sciences Group out of Baylor the year before. Advisys had a significant pipeline for DNA-delivered therapeutics as well as DNA-delivered CGMP. I'm not sure what CGMP stands for here. Let's see if we can figure that out. I think CGMP means good manufacturing practices. CGMP regulations, yeah. Current good manufacturing processes. Okay. Current good manufacturing processes or CGMP manufacturing capabilities. After that merger, all plasmid manufacturing activities were aligned into VGXI, a wholly owned subsidiary of VGX International. So through this little thing here, they're saying that Inovio's technology and as well as this technology, this manufacturing technology that came out of Baylor was kind of slipped right into an international company based in South Korea. And then VGXI was previously bought by VGX International from VGX Pharmaceuticals. So that's even more confusing. So VGXI's manufacturing facility is located in Texas, where the same facility is previously owned by Advisys. It's a little convoluted, you could say that again, but the key point is that it appears VGXI ultimately provides all the DNA molecules for Inovio's DNA vaccines, which means all of this DNA molecules for Inovio, this American company. And remember how interesting it was that J. Joseph Kim in the White House in 2020, March 2020, says, we're an American company, American innovation. So American. Meanwhile, they're using products made in Texas, American made, but this VGXI is actually owned by a South Korean company. And that technology probably slipped out of Texas through all of these mergers and acquisitions and sales. That is pretty ugly, I think. And so to repeat, VGXI manufacturing facilities located in Texas were the same facilities previously owned by Advisys. A little convoluted, but the key point is that it appears VGXI ultimately provided all the DNA molecules for Inovio's DNA vaccines. Wow. Now, in a prior life, OncoSec, I'm not even sure if I should read this. This is where it gets just more and more and more confusing here. But what the hell? Let's do it, right? I told some of you guys that I'll do a quick show and you can have your coffee and whatever. And you don't have to absorb all this. Just absorb the complexity here, okay? I just want you to leave with this, okay? I want to get on the screen here because I think this is kind of important. I want you to leave here with just being like, what the heck is going on here? It's not about you having to know all this stuff. I won't remember all this stuff either. One of the reasons I have very keen awareness of how much capacity I have in my brain to keep certain things, pieces of information available. I know when I start thinking about one thing, I have to drop something else. I understand memory management. It's almost crippling. For example, last night, my wife asked me, Mark, I think we might be late on one of these bills. And I actually had a meltdown because that meant I needed to stop thinking about something else. And suddenly I was having like a memory overload. I didn't flush something out before taking on another task. And I immediately had to take a nap. So I bring this up because I can't keep all this stuff either. Why? I'm pretty good at maintaining a site with all of this stuff listed out and organized, precisely because I'm aware of my own limitations. I maintain a site so that I can Google it later on, so I can do searches on it later on and find stuff that I've had to flush out of my cache within my brain, right? Knowing how that works will encourage you to not just continue to continuously and endlessly amass information, but also know when you need to take some time, flush it out, put it into certain files to come back to revisit later on as a researcher. So this OncoSec company here, and In a prior life, OncoSec was an online inventory management company called Net Inventory Solutions. Catchy name. On March 1st of 2011, Net Inventory Solutions changed its name to OncoSec Medical Incorporated. In March 2011, the company completed the acquisition of certain technology and related assets from Inovio Pharmaceuticals. Look, so it looks like I'm going to have to add another branch here. So in 2011, it looks like the OncoSec made a purchase somewhere down here of technologies from Inovio. Ugh. The acquired technology and related assets relate to the use of drug medical device combinations for products for the treatment of different cancers. Net Inventory Solutions had basically shut down operations in the prior year. So OncoSec was born. The asset purchase program with Inovio allowed OncoSec to purchase its non-DNA vaccine and selective electrochemical technology and related assets. OncoSec paid Inovio $3 million over a 2-year period and a royalty on commercial product sales related to the technology. And this payment schedule was subsequently amended twice, allowing Inovio to acquire warrants to purchase 4 million shares of OncoSec stock. This is insanely confusing. Under the terms of the agreement, OncoSec granted Inovio an exclusive worldwide license to certain of the acquired technology patents in the field in the use of electroporation. So basically, OncoSec obtained the non-DNA electroporation technology platform that can also be used to efficiently deliver a chemotherapeutic or cytokine agent for the treatment of cancer, while Inovio maintained the DNA vaccines and technology platform for delivery. So where did OncoSec's technology go? Now, pursuant to a stock purchase agreement dated in February 2011, a month before the Inovio deal, Avtar Dhillon acquired 18.8% of OncoSec from prior directors. Avtar Dhillon's nephew, Puneet Dhillon, was Inovio's vice president of finance. Great. So you got J. Joseph Kim bringing in his relatives. You have Avtar Dhillon of Genentech bringing in his relatives. What could go wrong? Avtar Dhillon's nephew, Puneet Dhillon, who was Inovio's vice president of finance and operations, was installed as OncoSec's president and CEO. He purchased 8.3% of OncoSec stock from the same directors. Now, Avtar Dhillon's background as a venture capitalist in the biotech field before joining Inovio, or it was. It appears he used those skills to take control of a shell company, Net Inventory Solutions, change its name to OncoSec, and then used a new company to purchase non-strategic assets from his other company, Inovio. Of interest, shortly after Dhillon closed his deal with OncoSec, an independent board member at Inovio gave his resignation, basically whistleblower, citing the freedom to act and aggressiveness that management wishes to have as it relates to the board. In my opinion, is not consistent with good governance, especially for a publicly traded company. And it just keeps going on and on and on. Now, remember, this article was written in 2015. Okay, this article was written in 2015. Now, there's been some updates, though. Now, I do have a webpage for this Avtar Singh, born 1961. Avtar Singh Dhillon, born 1961. Okay. A lot has been deleted on him. But this is some of the updated stuff. This is like, I think, a Canadian news agency here. Time ticking, and this is 2021. Time ticking for a Vancouver man charged in $1 billion international stock fraud scheme. So a look into the British Columbia business dealings of a Vancouver man charged in the United States in connection to alleged international stock fraud scheme. So I guess this guy has an ankle bracelet on right now. He was arrested in Long Beach, California, residing in his $12 million, 9,300 square foot yacht-lined waterfront home once advertised as one of the region's most expensive residential properties. The guy's doing okay. He has since turned in his passport and is monitored by authorities with a GPS ankle bracelet after posting a $1.5 million bond. Avtar Dhillon, 60, once a family physician after attaining a medical degree from the University of British Columbia, but over the past 25 years, remember this 2021 article, he has pivoted his career towards promoting mainly health science companies and claimed to have raised more than $1 billion from investors. He also served as past chairman of the Cannabis Canada Council and is a former member of the Securities Practice Advisory Committee to the British Columbia Securities Commission. Dhillon's most recent and prominent Canadian venture is a medical marijuana company that he founded with a prominent Vancouver securities lawyer and family members, including his cousin, a convicted heroin trafficker. Oh, man. Local. So you actually have heroin now. Oh, it gets worse, everyone. It just gets worse. When it rains, it pours. When it rains, it pours. Local doctor embroiled in alleged $1 billion scheme. So on August 3rd, this would be 2021, the United States Department of Justice filed criminal charges of conspiracy to commit securities fraud, and 2 counts of obstruction of a proceeding before the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, against Dhillon. The allegations are part of a much broader international pump and dump scheme alleged by American authorities to have been orchestrated by Frederick Sharp, a West Vancouver resident and former lawyer tied to the Panama Papers. So we have heroin trafficking. We have marijuana. We have securities fraud. We have international espionage, sending, manufacturing capabilities, DNA manufacturing capabilities, or synthetic DNA, we should say. Who knows what other types of patents are being shared legally or illegally between the United States and this now South Korean company. You have family members, you have people hiring their family members to run these companies. You have crazy mergers and splits afterwards. We have the Panama Papers. We have SEC fraud. All within this umbrella of Inovio Corporation. And this is just going to continue to grow. Now, again, I know Inovio is not Merck. They're not the size of Merck. We're not talking about a $1 trillion company, okay? However, what I said there is kind of funny because J. Joseph Kim, one of the co-founders of Inovio, the real Inovio, right, which started off as Vowgenomics, was paid by Merck Corporation to work at the lab of David Weiner, who's the other co-founder of Inovio. Inovio Corporation, their location in eastern Pennsylvania is not far from Merck headquarters. Let's be honest. Inovio's roots are very much connected to Merck. But Merck can keep its hands clean and say, well, we didn't know. We just paid some people to do some experiments in a lab. We don't really know what's going on. We're absolved of all of that. I don't even know how to characterize all of this fraud. All right. But so while they are a small company, and we're talking maybe a few million or a few $1 billion, and I could care less about the money. All right. Someone wants to screw someone else over for some money. Oh, that's life. But Inovio Corporation eventually delivered, well, they didn't actually use it, but announced the first vaccine. Much of the narrative of coronavirus is fueled by stories that come out of a company like Inovio, as well as Zika virus, as well as the potential for gene therapy, vaccines, and therapeutics, is fueled by this. Inovio was the largest recipient of Coalition of Epidemic Preparedness and Innovation money. I think they were the top recipient. I think they received more money than Moderna out of CEPI. And where's SEPI's money coming from? Wellcome Trust, Bill and Melinda Gates organization. It's pretty heavy, and I mean I'll so the 2005 Seeking Alpha article then goes into the early resignation of the resignation of Avatar Dillon. It goes into some of these trials regarding OncoSec. There is I wanted to highlight this here. Let's see if we can go back up to my my webpage here. I created a page for this Dakota's company called Aldevron. Okay, and they have this huge complaint. December 6, 2019. So basically, this was all done right going in the coronavirus. VGXI International versus Aldevron. So these guys are having a pissing match right now over manufacturing methods. There's a lot of stuff going on between all of these smaller businesses, and I think it's actually extremely. This is a really big deal. While everyone's talking about Pfizer batches or whatever, I think there's a lot of action going on here. Just the date, December 19th, and it was doubtful it was written the morning of, meaning that while things such as this flu pandemic preparedness stuff is being signed by the Trump White House, at that time this stuff was already in motion, right? It was already to be done. And I'll read the complaint here, verified complaint. VGXI or VGX International, by its counsel, files the verified complaint against the defendant Aldevron, and in support as follows. VGXI, based in Houston, is the largest good manufacturing practices compliant DNA plasmid manufacturer in the world. That's kind of a big deal. Now, I don't know what the non-GMP compliant is. They always say GMP compliant, so maybe there's a way to make DNA plasmids that are not GMP compliant. I don't know why anyone would want to use those. Nonetheless, DNA plasmids are used to produce various gene therapies, including DNA vaccines for viruses like Middle East MERS, Zika, Ebola, to be administrable. The plasmids must be manufactured according to FDA regulations containing current good manufacturing practices, GMP, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. To VGX's surprise, Aldevron, a North Dakota company that previously operated for years making non-GMP compliant DNA plasmids useful in preclinical trials, has suddenly emerged as a competing manufacturer of GMP compliant DNA plasmids. Aldevron could not and did not develop these manufacturing practices overnight. Instead, Aldevron has achieved this abrupt breakthrough in its ability to compete with VGXI by underhanded means, theft of VGXI's trade secrets, and illicit use of VGXI's patented system. Isn't this crazy? So you have this business now in Texas waving the flag as an American corporation, even though they're really owned by a South Korean company, Gene One Life Sciences, that probably got its technology from an American corporation, VGXI or Viral Genomics, which is currently Inovio, now filing lawsuits against American company like Aldevron. I mean, I don't even know what to think. And all of this is obfuscated by this mess, which is actually messier. It's going to get even messier. And I'll continue to try to add to this. So what's the point of this show? What did I title this show? I titled today's show Inovio, past-exec SEC investigations, Panama Papers connection, and corporate history update. And I think that's what I delivered here. So I revisited with some details, some corrections I needed to make regarding this corporate timeline and why I did it. We reviewed some past articles, such as from Seeking Alpha, talking about the known obfuscation and complexity here. But from their vantage point, they didn't really call out someone going to prison. But now we have one of the past executives facing $1 billion plus securities fraud. And what's noteworthy is that these SEC investigations try not to say words like Genentech or Inovio. They talk about these new Emerald Health and this some other company in Framingham, Massachusetts, and et cetera. And I think that the current SEC investigations are actually being written in a way, as well as the connections to these marijuana upstarts, to obfuscate past misgivings and past securities frauds, past espionage of technology between American and South Korean companies. And I can't overlook that Kate on Twitter is sharing some amazing stuff about patents regarding coming out of G1 Life Sciences and this VGXI and Dongil Fabrics out of South Korea, about how their products can be used for in all kinds of interesting ways. Let's just say that. Nothing, think of all day long, manufactured textiles are touching your skin all day long. You're surrounded by them right now. You take your shower, you take them off momentarily, and then before you know it, you're putting on your pajamas, and then you're going to your bed all day long. You have these textiles all over your body, rubbing in all day long. What better way if someone just knows how to create just a little bit of charge to get stuff delivered in to your body in a much more predictable and controlled way than just spraying an aerosolization. And I just can't overlook the fact that the largest super spreader events for coronavirus were in South Korea. Also, I had a tweet yesterday regarding this international vaccine initiative, IVI or something like that, where there's another Kim who's been running that organization for 20-something years. And that organization has several people who were on the Fauci list, such as John LaMontagne, as well as Rick Bright's mentor, Jacqueline Katz out of Australia, side by side with Ira Longini, which would make sense because Ira Longini and Rick Bright's mentor, Jacqueline Katz, worked together at Emory University in the early 2000s. So, but it's impossible to overlook the South Korea connection here. Why South Korea for the super spreader events? And if you just look at this chart here, which is just the tip of the iceberg now, there's so much more. But I think we delivered on that. And this show here, sometimes, I've been doing these 3-minute shorts, and I can reduce something like this down to a 3-minute short to just give you the gist of, oh my goodness, there's something really big, stinky there. This is a 1-hour show. We can get a little bit more detail, but it's impossible to remember all this stuff. This would be like a college course. Just the topic that we covered today it's going to take probably a month to dig into. Is it worth it? I don't know. But we've been pulling the pieces together. We're putting the pages out there. We're influencing the search algorithms on Google by putting these things together. We're saving stuff that's getting deleted. And long-term, that's where the value is as far. So anyways, that's all. I wanted to review that this morning. And just a whole lot of stuff to think about. So that's all, everyone. Thank you. Take care. God bless. Be well. Be confident. We're doing the Lord's work. Look at it this way. If everything was perfect right now, we would still need to be doing this anyways. Sort of as like maintenance to stay on top of things. So don't let it get to you. You're not here to save the world. You're here to live a good life, to be ethical, to set a role model for your children and so on. So that's all, everyone. Take care. God bless.